iFi Hip-Dac 3 is a pocketable device that allows you to connect your wired headphones through USB to something like your laptop or your phone, with some extra features. But are there features that justify spending $200 on a pocketable DAC that you can use on the go? The iFi Hip-Dac 3 feels premium in the hand. It is made with an aluminum body and comes in a warm color cast. The size is no bigger than my hand, smaller than most smartphones. It's a nice hefty unit with a smooth weighted knob. The knob doubles as a power switch and sits almost flush at the sides. The knurling texture makes it unlikely to slip when adjusting volume. In normal use, the 12-hour battery life is long enough to last you all day, but not multiple days if you forget to charge the iFi Hip-Dac overnight. Sadly, the iFi Hip-Dac doesn't take a charge while connected to my phone, as it has a separate USB-C 5V DC input. The buttons feel nice, but all of the LEDs to indicate whether you have X-Base or Power Match on are terribly recessed. It's difficult to check if either of the buttons are engaged, unless I look directly at them. I didn't even notice the charge indicator LED until I looked at the user manual. It was easy to assume that the LEDs on both sides of the volume knob are for power. They're not, but they should be. The colors are to indicate the audio format and are relatively specific or vague depending on how color accurate your eyes are. Seriously, the colors are cyan and blue, red and magenta, but thankfully there's yellow and green because you're not colorblind at all, right? Connection options include both a 3.5mm and a 4.4 Pentacon connector. For the most part, you won't need to connect to an amp externally. The 4.4mm Pentacon output is a fully balanced circuit, powering hard-to-drive headphones. If you don't think it pushes the driver quite enough, there's the power match button to add some gain to push a lot more power into the headphones. On the other hand, going the other way, there's a switch for IE match, meant for sensitive IEMs. Unfortunately, since it is a switch, you'll only be able to use IE match on one of the outputs. When listening terribly closely in some silent portions of tracks, I notice very subtle noise when using some IEMs, with IE match enabled. That said, the noise is not as noticeable compared to most motherboard or streamer DACs that I have used. In terms of sound quality, there's not a lot of coloration, which is a good thing. What you're putting in is what you're getting out. Whether I was plugged into power or not, the sound of the Hip-Dac 3 is clean and detailed, with no noticeable distortion, and doesn't feel compressed. For the bass heads, there's the X-Bass button, adding a lot of that bass rumble without feeling unnatural. Most other bass boost implementations I've heard tend to feel like someone's trying to bang your head against a wall, but that's not the case here. If you want to know what headphones or IEMs we would recommend for the iFi Hip-Dac 3, check out the best list articles on the SoundGuys website in the description, or right here. Using it on a desktop, the placement of the connections is great for a clean desktop setup, with the ports on one side and the controls and output on the other. The configuration keeps the cable clutter on the back of the unit when connected to the desktop. I was able to connect to all of my devices, an Android phone, and both macOS and Windows for desktop. The iFi Hip-Dac 3 decodes high-res BCM and DXD audio, including MQA for high bitrate audio files, without noticeable latency if you're using it for something like gaming or video consumption. While you can disconnect it from your desktop setup and bring it out, despite being portable, the iFi Hip-Dac 3, when used with a smartphone, is a pain. The provided cable is thankfully short, but it is too stiff for the unit to lie perfectly flat underneath. Maybe put a MagSafe attachment on it or something? Pocketing it, on the other hand, I constantly thought it would scratch my phone's camera lens. The included rubber feet doesn't help. I didn't install that for that reason. Another issue I have with it moving around is that the volume knob can be turned accidentally. Holding it with my phone in hand, just like one would with a battery bank, was annoying, but I got used to it. Honestly, I wish it could double as a battery bank. That could have been a nice feature. With the ability to power even hard-to-drive headphones or use sensitive IEMs without a high noise floor, the iFi Hip-Dac 3 is a decent upgrade if you have a lot of noise in your current setup, with the ability to rock out to a more colorful audio experience when enabling X-Bass. If you're looking specifically for a portable mobile DAC, the Apple dongle is far superior in portability, while doing more than good enough. I would recommend the iFi Hip-Dac 3 for those who need clean audio and a lot of power, but also want easy portability. But this video has something else you can try out instead. Trust me, upgrading the DAC barely changes your experience unless you're having specific DAC issues.